Namaste. Good evening. Welcome to our continuing series on the life divine with our brother Ranga. Today we begin a new chapter, chapter 18, Mind and Supermind.
Yeah.
Do you want to do a little recap?
Yeah.
Good.
So, you can see the recap will be the way he has developed the theme. Okay, we'll just see, I have gone to the contents page and you can see how he has developed the theme. Okay, first of all, he has spoken about the human aspiration. The human aspiration from the earliest of times in his awakened thoughts, not the savage, but the awakened thoughts. The thoughts of man have always gone towards God, light, immortality, and bliss. That's what he says. I have not used the correct words. Let's see what he's using. The last.
God, light, freedom, immortality.
Freedom. I missed out freedom.
Freedom.
Yeah. God, light, freedom, immortality. Okay, so this is what he has developed the theme, and then the next chapter he comes straight away to the main problem in his life, the materialist denial. The moment you have the first spiritual experience of the self, you see the physical world as unreal. So that's a huge blow to you. If you are a materialist and you think that the physical world is real, suddenly here you are told that all that you have been thinking is real, actually unreal. So this is the problem that he is developing throughout the life divine. Okay, so naturally he has to go from the first level and he's saying. So the second chapter is the materialist denial. So the materialist who says that the world is the physical world is the only truth. Then he goes to the refusal of the ascetic, the experience of the self. When you make your mind silent and lose your identification with body, mind, life, you go to the Brahmic consciousness, the self, and you see again, now you see that the physical world is unreal. It's only like shadow images, like the cinema, half real, half unreal. But it depends on your own condition. Sometimes you can see it as absolutely unreal and you want to see it as unreal, you want to see the real, you want to see the Brahmic consciousness as real, so you neglect the physical world, and that's one of the choices that a spiritual aspirant has. He can disappear into the infinite. Then he finds that both have got partial truth in them, and the materialist is right in his own way, and the ascetic also is right in his own way. And each one has got something right and something wrong. So Sri Aurobindo says we will not find fault with either, but we'll rather concentrate on the right view that we are having. And then he also praises the materialist, because all experience should not be hazy, fuzzy ideas. It should be based solidly on experience. And there the materialist is right, because he is having experience of the physical world and saying that this is the reality that I am experiencing. But the moment he says that nothing else exists except what I am seeing, then he is not being logical. Because there can be something that he doesn't know. If he is humble enough, he will admit that this is what I am seeing, but I don't know if there is anything else which is more real. So there he would be wrong if he insists that the sense perceptions are the only reality. There he would be wrong. And the ascetic is equally wrong if he says that the Brahman is the only reality and the physical world is unreal. Because there again, if you go to another level of consciousness, you see that the physical world is ultimately real, but not in the sense you are having in the beginning. Not in the way you are looking at through your senses. You have to look at the physical world not through your senses but through your consciousness from an elevated stance. Then you can see that the physical world is real in its own way, but not in the way you are seeing.
Today I just completed 4 chapters of a serial that I've done on Mother on Science. And she says that the occult science is as precise as any science.
Exactly.
And you have to go into that and see that it's as real as materialist
Not only
science.
real, but even more real.
Yes.
Because the subtler is actually more powerful and more real than the gross.
Yes.
So as you go, the substance becomes subtler and subtler, but there is more power and more reality to subtle than the gross. In fact, it's a reversal of consciousness that happens. And what you are saying is absolutely because it is not something hazy, fuzzy, as I use the word usually. It is something which has got laws. Just as there are physical laws, and you have physics possible in the physical world, there are laws that operate in the vital world, there are laws that operate in the mental world. Many occultists have understood and use the vital laws, the vital world laws. They use, and that is occultism. But Sri Aurobindo and Mother, they have been using also laws of the mental worlds. The other worlds have not even been explored. But there are laws there everywhere. The only place where there is no law is the Supreme, because he is totally free. Freedom and laws are opposites. Where there is law, there is fixity, rigidity. There cannot be freedom. So that's why in the physical world, you feel that you are free, but you are actually not free. You are a slave to the laws of the physical world. It's your body-mind life that dictates your behavior. You feel that you are doing by your own, but actually you are not. It's your body-mind life that is actually more the body. It is telling you what to do and what not to do. It's very easy to understand. The body is telling you to sleep, you obey passively and sleep. The body tells you, eat something, you are hungry, you will eat. You think that you are hungry. Actually, you are not hungry. It's the body that is hungry. And you are just obeying the body. You are a slave to the body. But even your thoughts and your emotions are all coming from the body. So there is total determinism in the physical world, total freedom in the highest world. And there is a gradation between these.
Now these people who overeat, they're overriding what the body needs and the body's asking for. They just keep eating.
Yeah, so there are some very interesting things which will come later on in the vital, the death, desire, incapacity. Sri Aurobindo describes this. How disease comes in and overeating and undereating and oversleeping and undersleeping. Even the Gita has got, neither you should overeat nor you should eat less. Neither should you oversleep nor you should sleep less. Balance is the right way. Okay, so that's the truth. Then he comes to the reality omnipresent, that which the divine is there everywhere at all the levels. Then he comes to the destiny of the individual. The destiny of the individual is the the fifth chapter. And there he tells you very clearly that the usual idea, at least in Indian spiritual life, is moksha. Release from the slavery to body-mind life. Go to the Brahmic consciousness, be satisfied, don't worry about the prison that you are living in all this time, escape and disappear into the infinite. The river comes and merges into the sea, the river disappears. No more individuality, you become the cosmic. Okay? But Sri Aurobindo has a slightly different take. He says that the infinity and the finite are equal realities. The individual is not something to just disappear. There is an ultimate and fundamental reality to the individual also, just as there is to the infinite. So he says the individual, according to me, the idea should be, his aim in life should be to go to the Brahmic consciousness, divinize his body-mind life, come down here and further the work of God in the world by helping the others and taking evolution one step further and faster if possible. That's his whole idea of the destiny of the individual. So the destiny of the individual should not be the ascetic ideal, disappearing into the infinite, moksha, but maintaining your individuality but in an infinite consciousness. The consciousness is no more limited, it becomes infinite, but yet you are individualized. And both are real. That's what we have seen also in the triple status of the supermind. The individual as well as the collective, both should be there. Okay? Then, man and the universe. Man and the universe, he is saying what is the relation between man and the universe. He is saying that the universe also depends on man and man also depends on the universe. Man depending on the universe is very obvious. We can't do without the universe. We get our food from there, we get our water from there, we get all our teachers and everything that we have, we get from the universe. How does the universe need man? That he says because before man came on the scene, the evolution in universe was very, 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 very slow. Millions and millions of years. But now that man has come, this evolution which was mechanical and slow has now become conscious and fast. So, nature actually, the universe has created man so that her own progress can be faster. He looks at it that way. So that's why the universe also depends on man. And both depend on something else? Yes, the transcendent. The transcendent is not belonging to the individual nor to the universe. There is the transcendent which is the highest. Transcendent means it transcends everything. It exists only by itself. It creates the universe and the universe creates the individual. So there is a connection between the three and you should have the experience of all the three. The divine is there in all. The ascetic says the divine is there only in the transcendent, everything below is unreal. The others don't have, they have got different ideas. There are many philosophies, but basically Sri Aurobindo is of the opinion that all the three are divine and you have to experience all the three levels, transcendent, cosmic as well as the individual. Okay? Then, how to find out, how to go to the cosmic consciousness? He comes to the methods of Vedantic knowledge. So what is we have spoken about the prison house. The body-mind life is the prison house. What is the prison? The ego. It's that binds you down. So that's the chapter of the ego and the dualities. And wherever there is ego, there is also dualities. Now dualities is something very interesting because we are seeing everything in the physical world as opposites. We are seeing hot, cold, good, bad, infinite, finite, personal, impersonal, all dualities exist in the physical world. Why? Because when the divine is creating, he creates, we discussed this, the whole range. He is not satisfied by creating only one small section of the entire gamut. So he is interested in infinite and he is also interested in the negative infinite. So he creates a whole range. So if the whole range is there, plus and minus, and when that becomes a reality in the physical world, you have opposites naturally. It's obvious. Okay? You have hot and cold. Actually, are they opposites? No, they are not opposites. They are graded, one reality which is graded. That we can understand by light. If you take the example of light and apply that to everything else, psychological qualities also. Extreme light, which starts reducing itself, because he is creating the whole range of light. So when he is creating absence of light, it is still light only, but absence of light becomes darkness. So they are not really opposites, but they are really the two extremes, the two poles. They use the word poles, the two poles of the same reality. If you apply this to psychological characteristics also, you will see that virtue and sin are really the same. Their vibrational quality is the same. There is no difference. Then sound, same thing. Everything in the physical world has got dualities. So you have to cross beyond both to be able to go to the entire range and not limit yourself only to one section of whether it be light or sound or consciousness or force or whatever, you have to see the whole. Then, so as soon as you go out of your body-mind life, the ego, you realize the dualities disappear. You start seeing the oneness of things. That's it. How to get that? Vedantic methods of knowledge. The Vedantic methods of knowledge, he makes a distinction between the scientific way of knowledge, where you are using your senses and your brain and going outwards into the physical world. The Vedantic methods of knowledge use the other way around. They don't use your senses, they use consciousness and subtle senses and go inwards. So if you go inwards, you go to the essence of things. If you go outwards, you go to the details of things. So details of things also is fine, but you will take a long time to come to the reality because you are going step by step, going on adding to your knowledge. 1 by 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1. But when you go there, you are seeing the reality. Somewhat like the astronaut, when he is going up, when he is down on the earth, he is seeing multiplicity. He is seeing his own house, he is seeing his own family, he is seeing chairs and tables and he is having his breakfast, his wife is there, children are there. Then he goes up. What does he see? He sees a home anymore. neither seeing his home. He goes a little more, he sees the whole town. He sees a little more, he sees his whole country. He goes even higher up, he sees his whole earth. You start seeing the entire earth. And it's also true that it completely changes their view of things.
Absolutely.
The astronauts, actually, their whole characteristic, their nature changes. And NASA is interested in seeing why it is happening. Because you see that which you thought is so important for you, your relations and your things and this, that, have no importance at all. If you see that whole earth that you thought was so big, just one tiny dot in a vastness of darkness. So it's a terrific experience. So this is the experience that you have when you go to the self. You start seeing the oneness of things, your values completely change. Vedantic methods of knowledge. Okay? Then he starts examining. So once you get to the Brahmic consciousness, what are you experiencing? You are experiencing Satchidananda. So he starts looking at the concepts of Satchidananda. First, Sat, the pure existent. Then he comes to Chit, conscious force, Chit Shakti. Then he comes to delight of existence, that is the Ananda. The delight of existence, there is a problem and there is a solution. It is something that you have to read several times and then you will understand what he is saying. Actually, it's not a very easy chapter to understand, but if you concentrate, you will have to understand what he is saying. You have to keep in mind the entire range that you have to see. Then, once he has done that, now he comes back to the original idea of the ascetic denial of the physical world, the divine Maya. So, what is Maya? The power of the divine to create. And that belongs to the supermind. So he starts looking at supermind. And supermind, 3 chapters. The supermind as creator. Before that, he has got a chapter on Maya, which is the power of the divine to create forms. Unfortunately, there also there is a gradation. At the highest level, Maya is the power of the divine to create real forms. But that also, as it keeps coming down and diminishing itself, it becomes the lower Maya. It becomes the illusion. So that is the second meaning of Maya. There is a higher Maya, which is the power of the divine to create real forms. But when you are in the lower levels of spiritual mind even, you are seeing the physical world as unreal, and what you thought was real forms, it turns out to be unreal. That's a lower Maya. It's illusion. So, actually Maya has got 3 meanings. The first is the power to create forms. The second is the power to create illusions. That's what you see when you go to the Brahmic consciousness. The world is illusion. The third is that which has been created itself is Maya. So often the world itself is talked of as Maya. The whole world is Maya, nothing else. So it's got 3 meanings. Then he discusses the supermind, because that's what he is discussing, the power of the supermind to create. So first chapter of supermind, creator. So what is it creating? It's creating only truth and truth consciousness. And what is the process by which it does that? The triple status of supermind. 3 levels. The oneness modifies itself into the many, beginning to modify itself into the many. The third one, the many more important than the one. The second one, the oneness more important than the parts. In the third one, the parts are more important than the one. Still, both are there. So, having finished with that supermind, now he starts dealing with his contention, as I told you, is that there is a connection between the highest and the lowest. The superconscient and the inconscient are connected. The ascetic philosophy and the Mayavada don't believe in this, because they are absolutely opposites. That is infinite, this is finite. That is one, this is multiplicity. That is formless, this is form. So everything is opposite. So they say that we don't want this, we want only that. That is light, this is darkness. So Mr. is saying, no, it's not like that. The entire thing is, we spoke of the range, plus infinity, minus infinity. So entire light and entire darkness. Darkness also is intentional, and it's another way of looking at things. We are used to darkness, so we want light. But one who is only in light, he also would like to see in another way. That's the Isha Upanishad, that's what it says, that you must also consider this also as part of the, if you think that only light is the reality, then you are making as big a mistake as the others. So that's the Isha Upanishad, and Srimada's contention also is that this also is divine. That also, there is another way of looking at things. Divine wants to look at multiplicity. He also wants to look at things through oneness. There is one way of looking at things, there is another way of looking at things. So there is nothing negative. We are used to negative and positive because we are living here and we see opposites, that's why. But if you go to the third level, you don't see opposites, you see the harmony between everything. So that's why he takes up mind and supermind. Now we will compare mind and supermind, and then now his contention is that they are connected. So he has to establish the connection. So how does he proceed? First he discusses the supermind. That is, mind and the supermind are connected. Then he comes one step lower, life. Then he starts looking at life and all its problems. That's our 2-3 chapters. Then finally he comes to matter, and that also there are 2-3 chapters. So these 3 chapters now, we'll go to about 5 or 6, quite a few chapters now, we'll see. Divine, mind, supermind is 1 chapter. Life has got 3 chapters. Life, death, desire, incapacity, ascent of life. And problem of life, 4 chapters on life. Then the double soul in man, he describes the psychic being. The psychic being and the outer vital. Because that also is part of the vital only, this range.
Soul, right?
So it is deep inside. So he describes the double soul in man. Then he comes to matter. And matter also there are 3 chapters. Matter, the knot of matter, and the ascending series of substance. In the ascending series of substance, he establishes the continuity between the lowest and the highest. The increasing subtlety of things and the increasing power of things as you keep going up, he describes this. So there is a grade between the two. So next is the 7-fold cord of being. There are 7 steps, but you need not think it is 7. You can think of it as even 1. Vedanta says they are all 1. Then the ascetic is saying there are 2. There is the superconscious and the inconscient, light and darkness. Then there are many who consider there are 3. Gross world, subtle world, causal world. So you can divide into 3. You can divide into 5, like most of the philosophies in the world, they describe ether, air, fire, water, earth. In a increasing subtlety, decreasing density. Then Srimada says, I will follow the Vedic method, the 7-fold cord of being. Mother says there are 12 planes of consciousness. Depends on where you want to stop and you want to describe each plane differently. Actually, Srimada says that there are infinite levels. At each level, you can say that this has got specific characteristics. And he defines each level very interestingly. He says that each level is defined by the relation of Purusha and Prakriti. He says each one there is a relation Purusha and Prakriti. At the highest level they are one. At the lowest level, Purusha is completely under the heel of Prakriti. That's why we are not conscious of our soul. There is the divine in matter, but he is engulfed in the darkness. We don't see him. Get out of the body-mind life, then you see that you are pure Purusha, and there Prakriti is inactive. You go to the third level, both are one. Consciousness and force, Purusha, Prakriti. So this is what he establishes, and then after that, one by one he goes on to other things. Then he comes to the problem of the illusion that you see. Why is it that you see an illusion? What is the relation between supermind, mind and the overmind, Maya? So that finishes one section, book 1. He has given you the thing. Then now the book 2 he starts the knowledge and the ignorance. Is it really that there is a reality and an unreality? Or is it your way of looking at things that is changing? The reality, ascetic is saying unreal, real. Srimada is saying maybe it is not unreal, real, but the way you are looking at things. So, in fact, it's very interesting chapters are there, 4 or 5 chapters, where he says that how do you decide something is real or unreal? There is the something to be perceived. There is the object to be seen, and there is a subject who is looking at the object. So there is the percept, there is the perceiver, and there is the perception linking the two. There is the knower, there is something to be known, and there is knowledge linking the two. So the problem is not the percept. The percept is really real all through. You are seeing. But suppose there is a difference in the perception, suppose there is a difference in the way of your perceiving things. So that's what he comes to, and he explains that it is the increasing, as you keep going up higher and higher, the instruments of perception go on changing. It's like at the physical level, I am wearing dark blue glasses. I see everything as blue. I go to the next level, I've changed my goggles and I am wearing now lighter colored things. I am seeing things in a different way. As you keep going up, instruments of knowledge go on changing. At our level, physical senses. At the higher level, subtle senses. Even higher, intuition. Even higher, identification. These are the levels of instrumentation. So it is the instrumentation that changes your way of looking at the reality. The reality is only one. So many chapters on that, that's book 2. Then so knowledge and what is causing the illusion, then he describes that. So there are the book 2 and then part 1 and part 2. So part 1 is the infinite consciousness and the ignorance, and the part 2 is the knowledge and the spiritual evolution. He comes to finally the spiritual evolution. So this is the way he has developed the whole thing. Very logically.
Brilliant summary. Thank you. Thank you so much.
So now we are going to read about the mind and supermind. These chapters he is going to establish the connection between the highest and the lowest. So what is the connection between mind and supermind? They are opposites and yet they are connected. So that's what we'll read today.
Can we put in Amrita's answer to Mother?
Yes.
Mother says, Amrita, what is the relation of man to supermind? He said, it's a very good relation, Mother.
I have this thing, the sevenfold chord of being. You're saying he bases it on the Vedic system of the 7 principles.
Yes.
But when he makes the chart, so he clearly says, we may therefore, if we will, pose 8 principles instead of 7. The 8th is the psyche, the soul. So how this 7 becomes 8? I mean,
because supermind, there is Sat, which becomes matter. There is Chit, which becomes the Chit Shakti becomes the vital. Ananda becomes the psychic being. And supermind, which is actually the link between the two, becomes the mind. So Ananda has to have also a complementary aspect here. But when you are going up, you are not considering the psychic. You are considering only matter, life, mind, supermind, which is the link between the two, and then you have Satchit Ananda. So that's why he is saying that if you want to bring in that the correspondences, then you have to bring in the 8th. Because if you have got their sort of couplets, you can say, supermind, mind, Sat, matter, Chit Shakti, vital, Ananda is hanging, so it has to be connected to the psychic. That's why he brings in the psychic. Because when a yogi starts going up, he need not touch the psychic at all. He can go without the psychic. He can go through knowledge. The knowledge aspect will take him directly without the psychic. He will have no devotion. He can only have knowledge. So that's why 7 to begin with, and then he introduces the 8th one.
But the realization cannot be integral without the psychic.
Pardon?
The realization of the yogi cannot be integral without the psychic.
Yes, because he doesn't have devotion. But he should have devotion also. But the ascetic is interested only in knowledge. He wants knowledge. He gets knowledge, he knows what is the reality of things, it disappears into the without emotion. That's why they stress in Sri Aurobindo yoga, you must have both. You must have knowledge, you must also have devotion, and to get these, you must also do works in the physical world. Not like the ascetic, don't think that works is going to bind you down. As soon as you start working in the physical world, it is going to give you attachments, it's going to give you desires, it's going to give you ego. So, avoid work. That is some of the... So, don't do any work in the physical world. Just sit in meditation. The little work that you have to do, eating, sleeping, all that you do, but don't do anything else. There are others who say, no, you can do things like going to the temple, doing puja, you can do all these things, but nothing more than that. Sri Aurobindo goes to the extreme limit, like Gita, he says, every work can be done. Even though...
I remember something from the Gita. It was a beautiful phrase that I sent to my father once. If I did not work, these worlds would perish.
Yes, that's right. So, action therefore is absolutely essential. You have to act. Because creation is action. And if the divine is not going to act, he is not going to create. And if he is not going to create, the world disappears. That's why. So that's why man also should be engaged in action, but egoless action. Okay, let's start reading. Mind and supermind. In this chapter, he will establish the link between mind and supermind, although they are opposites. Mind and supermind. He discovered that mind was the Brahman from the Taittiriya Upanishad. Indivisible, but as if divided in beings. That's a Gita. In the supermind, oneness. In the mind, multiplicity. So, indivisible, but as if divided in things. Seeming division. The conception which we have so far been striving to form is that of the essence of the supramental life which the divine soul possesses securely in the being of Satchidananda, but which the human soul has to manifest in this body of Satchidananda formed here into the mold of a mental and physical living. But so far as we have been able yet to envisage this supramental existence, it does not seem to have any connection or correspondence with life as we know it, life active between the two terms of our normal existence, the two firmaments of mind and body. It seems rather to be a state of being, a state of consciousness, a state of active relation and mutual enjoyment, such as disembodied souls might possess and experience in a world without physical forms, a world in which differentiation of souls had been accomplished, but not differentiation of bodies, a world of active and joyous infinities, not of form-imprisoned spirits. Therefore, it might reasonably be doubted whether such a divine living would be possible with this limitation of bodily form and this limitation of form-imprisoned mind and form-trammeled force, which is what we now know as existence. So, supermind we have studied in detail. It seems to be, there is nothing here of the supermind here, we have seen. It is infinite and it is creating power and all that, nothing seems to be here. So, you can doubt whether that supermind can ever be manifested on earth. He will now be busy showing you that it is possible and it's really the same thing. That's the whole chapter. Okay, here he is stating, seems to be that there is no connection between mind and supermind. That is formless, this is form. And it is trapped in the, look at the words he is using, the limitation of bodily form and the limitation of form-imprisoned mind. Our mind seems to be imprisoned in the brain. Actually it is not. It can be free. but it seems to be imprisoned in the brain. And then the other one, form trammeled force. Trammel is the word actually means a fishing net. So the force is netted in the body. So form trammeled force.
I have a question about a world in which differentiation of souls has been accomplished, but not differentiation of bodies.
Yeah, the subtle world.
Yeah.
Not the physical world, but the subtle world.
Oh,
In the subtle world, the souls are differentiated. When you go there, you can see that there are differences of souls. But there is no body anywhere. The body is in the physical world. That's what he means.
Okay.
But as you keep going up higher and higher, even the souls, you start seeing that they are really one, but seeming to be different. Differentiation of souls has happened. And in fact, where does the differentiation of souls begin? Right at the overmind level. Remember that the overmind is the origin of the multiplicity. Millions and millions of gods are there just below the supermind. The supermind is the creator and creation of oneness into multiplicity. It starts from there.
I was once with Temi, and we were discussing many things, and I told her that this one young girl, Mother said she has a beautiful soul. Temi looks at me and she says, "We all have beautiful souls." It's true.
It's true in essence.
In essence, yes.
Yeah, but the essence can become also a very developed soul. And that is what you call the psychic being. The soul is the divine presence, but in a sleeping condition. It is imprisoned. It doesn't know that it is imprisoned. Slowly, through many lives, it has to awake to its own reality. It is not aware. We are not aware of our soul. But when the psychic being comes forward, you start realizing that there is something in you which is a divine element. So that's the psychic being that comes. So when Mother says she has a very beautiful soul, she means the developed psychic being.
Ah, okay.
And it's very interesting, but the psychic being, it reminds me, it might as well mention it here. There was a French lady here, her name was Yatanti. It is an Indian name, Yatanti, the one who keeps trying, making an effort. Her name was Yatanti. And when she went to Mother one day, Mother saw that her psychic being is usually described in the sacred text as no larger than the thumb of a man, Angushta Matra Purusha. But Mother says her soul, her psychic being was larger than her body. And then she says that it is this that could become the supramental body. She says that could become the supramental body. It has all the necessary elements of subtlety and it's divine, already divine. So that could become the body. It could materialize into the physical world. So in the beginning, a very small sleeping soul, slowly that soul develops and becomes the psychic being. So Srimla is very clear about these three concepts: the self, the soul, and the psychic being. The soul is the divine presence in everything in a sleeping condition. It is essentially divine, but not overtly divine. It has to develop. And how does it develop? Through many lives. As it goes on developing, the psychic starts developing a psychic being. And the self is your reality, your self. It's an individual as well as the cosmic. And you get that experience when you make your mind silent and go. You realize that the self is yours, you are part of that, but that self is also universal. And the self never comes down into manifestation. It remains up and supports your existence here, but never enters into the physical world. It's the psychic that enters and develops. The self never evolves. The self is static, permanently static.
You're saying the self equals the soul?
No.
Not.
The self is something above body, mind, life. It's the Brahmic consciousness.
Okay. But I thought you said that the soul begins to develop the psychic being.
That's the divine presence in matter.
Okay.
The divine presence in matter, beginning from an atom, slowly starts developing through different biological forms and grows slowly. And as soon as one biological form dies, the soul goes to that level at the point where it is still. Suppose it is an animal form, it will go only to the vital world and come back. Again, suppose it's a human being, it will go to the mental world and come back. So the more developed you are, the more your psyche will go to that plane of consciousness and come down again. Finally, when you realize the self, you don't need to even realize the self. You don't need to take birth again. That is liberation. So, these three concepts in Srivastava are very clear. The soul, the psychic being and the self. So, we have done the first chapter. Srivastava is saying mind and supermind seem to be absolutely contrary to each other. So, is it possible that a divine life on earth is possible? That's what he comes to the next paragraph. In fact, we have striven to arrive at some conception of that supreme infinite being, conscious force and self-delight of which our world is a creation and our mentality a perverse figure. We have tried to give ourselves an idea of this divine Maya, give ourselves an idea of what this divine Maya may be, this truth consciousness, this real idea by which the conscious force of the transcendent and universal existence conceives, forms and governs the universe, the order, the cosmos of its manifested delight of being. But we have not studied the connections of these four great divine terms with the three others with which our human experience is alone familiar: mind, life, body. We have not scrutinized this other and apparently undivine Maya, which is the root of all our striving and suffering, or seen how precisely it develops out of the divine reality or the divine Maya. And till we have done this, till we have woven the missing cords of connection, our world is still unexplained to us, and the doubt of a possible unification between that higher existence and this lower life has still a basis. The doubt has a basis if you can't establish the connection. We know that our world has come forth from Satchidananda and subsists in his being. We conceive that he dwells in it as the enjoyer and knower, Lord and self. We have seen that our dual terms of sensation, mind, force, being can only be representations of his delight, his conscious force, his divine existence. But it would seem that they are actually so much the opposite of what he really and supernally is that we cannot, while dwelling in the cause of these opposites, cannot, while contained in the lower triple term of existence, attain to the divine living. We must either exalt this lower being into that higher status or exchange body for that pure existence, life for that pure condition of conscious force, sensation and mentality for that pure delight and knowledge which live in the truth of the spiritual reality. And must not this mean that we abandon all earthly or limited mental existence for something which is its opposite, either for some pure state of the spirit or else for some world of the truth of things, if such exists, or other worlds, if such exist, of divine bliss, divine energy, divine being? In that case, the perfection of humanity is elsewhere than in humanity, itself. The summit of its earthly evolution can only be a fine apex of dissolving mentality, whence it takes a great leap either into formless being or into worlds beyond the reach of embodied mind. He's saying that we'll try and establish a connection between the higher hemisphere and the lower hemisphere. Sat becomes matter. He's saying that they seem to be opposites, but we'll try and establish a connection. And if you can't do that, then the ascetic is right. You have to give up this world and go there. The divine life is possible only there. But my contention is, he will tell you that a divine life here is possible because there is a connection between the higher and the lower. Now in all these chapters, he will establish the connection. Logically, step by step, he will show the connection between Sat and matter, Chit Shakti with life. He has used different words, but here also he is mentioning all that. And he has not mentioned the psychic being. He has not mentioned the psychic being, that he will mention later on. So, the higher and the lower are connected. That's what he's saying. We'll look at the words carefully, then we'll see. Okay. So, now I am reading from. I have highlighted a portion here. Page 171. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. Fifth line. Okay. But we have not studied the connection. I'll read from there. Okay. But we have not studied the connections of these four great divine terms. Which are these four great divine terms? Sat, Chit, Shakti, Ananda, Supermind. These are the four great divine terms, with the three others with which our human experience is alone familiar: mind, life, body. So he will connect the four great divine terms with mind, life, body.
Just as in a later chapter he calls overmind Maya. Just as in a later chapter he uses the term overmind Maya. Can we say that the supermind is the divine Maya?
Is the originator of the Maya.
No, my question is specific. The divine Maya, is it the supermind?
No.
No.
It is not the supermind, but it's a power of the supermind. The supermind itself has the power to create. Maya, the power to create, belongs to supermind. It's not equal to the supermind.
Actually, in the Hour of God book, there is on one page, he writes overmind or Maya. In this,
Yes.
the chapter title has overmind as a kind of adjective to qualify Maya.
Yes.
In that, it is very clear, overmind or Maya.
Yes.
That's why I was asking.
That's why, and that is the lower Maya. But the higher Maya belongs to the supermind. The lower Maya, right from, see, we have body, mind, life, now that's our world. But the moment you go above that, you make your mind silent, you go to the first level is the higher mind. The higher mind, then there is the element mind, then there is the intuitive mind and the overmind. These Sri Aurobindo calls the ideal planes of consciousness. The ideal planes. And this he calls the spiritual planes of consciousness. If you are in these, you will see the physical world as unreal. Or, even if you see it as real, you will see no connection between the two. That's why it's a Maya. And that begins at the overmind level. The overmind level, Maya begins. But the moment you step into supermind, it becomes the divine Maya, the power to create real forms, not illusions. So from overmind right up to higher mind is the lower Maya. The power, you are seeing the physical world as unreal. Even if you happen to see it as real, depends on your nature, you will see no connection between the two.
And by unreal we mean destructible.
Yes, impermanent.
So the
That's
real
right.
is indestructible.
Yes, that's right. Transience.
The word or can sometimes mean an equivalent. In other words,
No.
you
There it
can
is
say
clear.
in other words. It
Yeah.
can be used that way, no?
Yeah.
Not as an alternative.
Okay, so, but we have not studied the connections of these four great and divine terms with the three others with which our human experience is alone familiar: mind, life, and body. We have not scrutinized this other and apparently undivine Maya, which is the root of all our striving and suffering. Until now we have been concentrating only on the supermind. 3 chapters on supermind. Now he is saying, let us look at the undivine Maya, the one below. Okay? So the undivine Maya is the body, mind, life. So we have not scrutinized this other and apparently undivine Maya, which is the root of all our striving and suffering, or seen how precisely it develops out of the divine reality or the divine Maya. The divine Maya is creating the undivine Maya because there is a diminution and a darkening of the consciousness. That darkening also, this is some very fundamental thing we have to understand, that when there is a manifestation, there is necessarily to be a lessening of consciousness, a lessening of force, and a lessening of Ananda also. The manifestation implies a reduction of consciousness, a reduction of force, and reduction of phase. Usually I give the example of the infinite clay that you have, and the clay has the potential to create pots and pans, but you don't see them, they are formless. So if you want to manifest that which is potential in the infinite clay, what do you have to do? You have to take a little bit and give it a form. So when you are taking a little bit and giving it a form, you are manifesting that which is unmanifest in the higher plane, but you are also limiting. So limitation is absolutely essential. And when you limit for manifestation, you are limiting consciousness, you are creating unconsciousness. When you are limiting force, you are creating incapacity. When you are limiting Ananda, you are creating pain and suffering. This is how it is to be seen. So that's why undivine Maya. Okay? So undivine Maya, and till we have done this, till we have woven the missing cords of connection, between the higher and the lower, okay, our world is still unexplained to us, and the doubt of a possible unification between that higher existence and this lower life has still a basis. The doubt has a basis, unless I can show that there is a connection between the two. The ascetic is saying no connection. Right up to the overmind level, you feel that there is no connection. In fact, Sri Aurobindo says in one place, the doubt exists. But he was very lucky because Vivekananda had given to him the basis of the supermind. He had told him everything about the intuition and the supermind. And he knew theoretically that there is a supermind. When he experienced the overmind, he said there could be a confusion between the overmind and supermind. But when he experienced the overmind, he knew that there is still something more. Because he could see that there is a discrepancy between what you normally call the saguna and the nirguna. The nirguna is the formless. The saguna is the world with forms. So, maybe the divine is here also and maybe the divine is there. You see that. But they seem to be unconnected. No connection between the two. So that connection, you have to go to the supermind to get the connection. Then you see the connection. Okay, so we know, so he's saying, we know that our world has come forth from Satchidananda and subsists in his being. We conceive that he dwells in it as the enjoyer and knower, Lord and self. He is using here words the Gita uses. The enjoyer is the bhokta and the knower is the jnata. These are the words used in the Gita, and Sri Aurobindo is using those words. Remember, when he was in the jail, Sri Krishna came and explained to him entire Gita. He told him exactly all about the Gita, and he also told him about the Vedas, how to get the key to the Vedas. He told him in jail. Okay? So, knower, Lord and self. Lord and self, Ishvara. Lord is Ishvara, and the self, you can say, the Brahmic consciousness. So he has used words which in English correspond to those words in the Gita. We have seen there are dual terms of sensation, mind, force, being. Here also you can see sensation, body and vital. Mind, force, being. Being is the body. Okay, being is the substance. Can only be representations of his delight, his conscious force, his divine existence. So the divine existence becomes the being, the delight, he is not, the delight and conscious force, they are representatives. Our sensation belongs to the delight. The mind belongs to the supermind. Force is using different word, but conscious force becomes it. Conscious force, Chit Shakti, becomes the vital. Sat, the existence, becomes matter, the body. And Ananda, he is here not using the word psychic being here, but he's talking of delight, okay, and conscious force. But it would seem that they are actually so much the opposite of what he really and supernally is, that we cannot, while dwelling in the cause of these opposites, cannot, while he has not used commas, but if he had used a comma there, you know how to read it. Cannot, while contained in the lower triple term of existence, attain to the divine living. We cannot attain to the divine living if we are plunged in the lower. We must either exalt this lower being into that higher status or exchange body for that pure existence. There you are. So body has to become pure existence, which is Sat. Life for that pure condition of conscious force, life has to become Chit Shakti, conscious force. Sensation and mentality for that pure delight and knowledge. Mentality has to become pure delight and knowledge, which is the supermind. Life for that pure sensation and mentality for that pure delight and knowledge, which live in the truth of the spiritual reality. And must not this mean that we abandon all earthly or limited mental existence for something which is its opposite, either for some pure state of the spirit or else for some world of the truth of things, if such exists, or other world, if such exists, of divine bliss, divine energy, divine being, if they are opposites, don't we have to give up this? He's asking. And if we have to, in that case, the perfection of humanity is elsewhere than in humanity itself. The summit of its earthly evolution can only be a fine apex of dissolving mentality. Beautiful expression. Fine apex of dissolving mentality. You see, you can get the divine existence only at that level, but you can't get it here in the physical world. Dissolving mentality. It becomes subtle, subtle, subtle and reaches an apex. Beautiful expression. Whence it takes a great leap either into formless being or into worlds beyond the reach of embodied mind. If there is no connection, you can't expect a divine life on earth. The ascetic is 100% right. You have to give up the physical world and go there. But by contention, he will tell you, and this he uses this sentence all the time, throughout Life Divine, that if there is no connection, then escape is the only way, and the ascetic is right. But there is a connection, and it can be done. Very difficult, but it can be done. Because there is an evolution, and slowly, 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 the divine is manifesting himself here in degrees, little by little. First matter, then life, then mind, next step is soul mind. And it is the next step of evolution. And man has to cooperate with the divine to make that possible. That's his whole contention.
Thank you.